Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Poetcast Unleashed. My name is Nico Vernacini. I'm your host. This is an interview show where we get to talk with some of the poets in the English-speaking poetry community in Copenhagen. And today, my guest is Lotus. Hey, Lotus.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's jump into it. Okay.
I think
You were born here in Denmark, weren't you?
I'm as Danish as they come, pretty
Yeah.
much. um, yeah, I was born on Frederiksberg, uh, and lived my first few years in Copenhagen until I was like six or seven. And then my mom moved out into the provincial Denmark, um, into something called the ecological village. Uh,
What's that?
it's kind of an interesting community, where there's a big focus on like how do you say in English bæredygtighed, like
Sustainability.
sustainability. Yeah, they have their own like sewage system, and they built like houses more like in on par with like a climate friendly, nature friendly, and there's yeah, people with sort of like animals. When I grew up there, which is a long time ago, it might have changed, but they were like goats and sheep and
Right.
all sorts of stuff. And it's all these like different houses and buildings built in like strange, creative ways. So I've I lived in a house which has um it's not an octagon, but when something has like six different edges, or like a
Six.
hexagon. Yeah,
I think that's five. I think sextagon.
it's called sextagon.
I think so. All my Latin
Yeah.
skills from high school can finally be used. Yay!
I'm so glad.
Yeah, hexagon I think is five, and heptagon is five as well, and then sextagon.
I think hexagon is five. No,
Hexa.
six hexagon, because the Star of David is a hexagon, and it has six edges.
Okay,
So, but
we could talk about this. We could.
throw your
We.
answers in the comments, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Is it
so
five or six?
much. Would you like to be the new host of this podcast? Because you know exactly how to do YouTube.
Maybe, maybe I watch too much YouTube.
So how did you?
um,
Sorry, no, go ahead.
no, but yeah, that's where I grew up, some of the time, and then I was a child of a very early divorce. So my dad, he kept living on Frederiksberg, so I also kind of grew up in Copenhagen a little bit. But I always went to school like in this town called Hundested, provincial town by the
Dog
sea,
place.
because the eco village is too small to have its own school. Yeah, dog place. uh, and then later some schools around place called Hillerød, which is a little closer to Copenhagen. But yeah, it's kind of a small area to grow up in a way, and at the same time growing up in Copenhagen. But I've lived here now for the past 13 years, I think 13 or 14 years.
Mm.
And in the apartment I am right now, I think I live for about 12. No, maybe more. Since the end of 2012, I've lived here. So that's, I don't know. I'm a poet, not a mathematician.
Okay, yeah, it's 13 years, but
It's 13 years. Okay.
yeah, it's yeah, I like what you got going on your walls there behind you.
Yeah, it's my little poster wall. We have some William Blake
Of course,
and some Francisco Goya and some, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Maybe you know Gustave Doré or something.
Gustav Dor. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he illustrated Paradise Lost and Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
Then there's a naked man up here. I
Of
don't remember
course.
who drew him,
Yeah.
but I wanted an excuse to put naked men on my wall
I have
because
a I have a half naked man over there. He's blue, the most powerful being in the universe, but he's not completely naked, but almost. He was in the comic.
oh, cool. Well, this wall I can show you the top of it as well. We have
Ah,
the
yes, we have
fallen
Lucifer,
angel,
of course. Yeah,
Lucifer, and then the sketch up here in the corner is like
Michelangelo.
uh yeah, from Adam, like a sketch from there. So it,
Mm.
and the William Blake one is also the devil being buff.
I can tell you have some of the same tastes. I just bought the Paradise Lost yesterday. They just made a new edition, big edition with the drawings from Gustav Dorr.
Ah,
And
sweet.
yeah, you can
I
find them
need
now.
it.
That there's a whole series. There's
I only have this little bitch.
oh, you need the bigger bitch. You need the huge.
I need the
It's a
bigger
huge
one.
bitch. Let me just. I'll
Yeah.
find her. Just a second.
Ah, fuck yeah. I have a Bible which is illustrated by Gustave Doré, which I found in the trash, and I don't understand how anyone could throw that out. But
Check this bitch out.
I think I've seen that in the bookshop.
Yeah, it's a whole new series. They got Dante's Inferno, Miyamoto Musashi, The Five Rings. You have
I
the
need it.
Odyssey, the rise and fall of Roman or fall and decline of Roman Empire, with drawings by Piranesi.
Nice.
And just like, yeah, it's a new collection that just came out. Gorgeous book. I mean, just wow, come on.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I need that. I need to go make some money. I spend all my money on concert tickets for the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
What do you mean unfortunately? You probably like going to
Not
concerts, I imagine.
unfortunately, but so the things have to wait. But no, there's coming a lot of bands like next year that I like to see. So that's what I'll be doing.
Okay.
But yeah, but this wall was sort of like my excuse to have like some semi naked men, but still artistic, so it didn't look like I was being pervy. But you know how a lot of like people, especially like men in their house, will have like art of like, ooh, naked females and this and that, and it's like we know what you're thinking, but they're trying to get away with it. So this
You're
was my
preaching to the choir, my friend.
yeah, this is my way to get away with it.
I like the balance between slutty and classy. You know, you can have eroticism, but try to be a little tactful. I have Italian erotic comics. I have paintings from Frank Frazetta, and you know, I have a lot of naked women, but they're all sort of classy, and I can talk about them. So when I have guests over, I can say, "Oh, it's not just a naked babe. It's like it's art." So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So what's up with poetry? What's going on with that? Why did you decide to spend your time doing that?
That's interesting because um, I don't really remember a time when I didn't write as soon as I sort of started to learn,
Mm.
which sounds douchey now that I say it out loud, but I'm allowed. Uh, I think like when it really like started was when I was 12 because I got my own laptop. That was the first time I got it. So that's where I sort of went from notebook paper, because like I have a horrible handwriting. I write way too fast and it's difficult to read. So
That's pretty goth, though. I gotta say, it's pretty goth to have a bad handwriting.
yeah, I try my best, but and it's never gotten better either. I tried to take notes for like years in school because I was like, it's gonna improve my handwriting, but it didn't. So if you have shitty handwriting, just give up.
Yeah,
Just give up and be shitty.
right.
But no, I got my first laptop, and I sort of remember like the like that made the big difference that I could sit, and it was before internet was all around the house, so I didn't have internet on my laptop. So all I could do for entertainment on it was actually to sit and write. And I would sit and just write in my spare time a whole lot throughout my teenage years.
You don't strike me as a
Uh,
person who played The Sims.
I didn't. I played World of Warcraft.
There you go. There it is.
Yeah.
Horde, of course.
Yeah. No, I actually played Night Elf because
okay.
I was a big fantasy nerd back then. So I think there's a very small distinction between fantasy nerd and goth because they overlap a little bit. So
How so?
I think because a lot of like goth writing is very fantasy coded. You know, it's a lot of like fantasy creatures, and it's just the darker side of it in a
Mm.
way. Um, so yeah, no, I play World of Warcraft. Fuck the Sims. Um, and yeah, so I just started writing a lot, and I think I don't remember why I started writing poetry, but I think some of the first stuff was because I was really into like a lot of specific bands back then who had what I thought was like very beautiful lyrics. And so when I started writing poetry, I started writing in English because that was my inspiration. Um, it was bands like A Perfect Circle and Tool and Nine Inch Nails and stuff. And I was, those were my big teenage heartthrob crushes as well. uh, so I think that just inspired me. So some of the first poems I started writing back then was also in my head, like meant to be song lyrics in a way, or like I would imagine, this could be used for that kind of song or something. Um, and it just spun out of control from there and into beautiful artistic chaos. Um, Here I am today.
Here you are today, yeah, still going strong.
Yeah.
What have you learned about poetry over the years? Like about yourself and your writing process, about the art form?
Um, I think one of the things I think when something is so consistent in your life, and it's something you do because like the first many years it was just for me and then putting it out on the internet a little bit, but not showing it to friends or family or anything, just like my own private thing, and then being anonymous on the internet as we were back then. So I think when something is so consistent, it's kind of hard to say what have I learned, but I think a big lesson I did learn was a few years ago when I started writing. Mm, Not so much. I think when I went to university, um, I got really bored with the curriculum and with just academic life in general.
Mm.
And so I started writing poetry again after sort of a big break. And I started writing in English again because that's what I did when I first wrote just for fun. And so I sort of got that joy back of like sort of like playing in a way that this was just for me and this was just for fun. And I think when you can sort of play through an artistic craft, you can process your own emotion, trauma, difficult situation, as well as bringing yourself joy in different ways. So I think it's sort of like, yeah, I think our adult creative habits is basically just because we stopped playing as children, and now we need a new space to do it.
Mm.
um and that's what I kind of try to do with poetry now as well, and also just like challenge myself in general, but I always have to go back to that place where it's fun and where it's child's play. And whenever I do that, that's when the really good stuff comes out.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I'm not sure what the lesson is, but I'm sure there is one somewhere.
Is it hard or easy for you to do poetry?
That really depends. Some stuff just comes really easily, and some things, because I think I'll also like, even though it's very connected to like play for me, I will also like sit down with a certain difficult situation and I will try to write about it. Sometimes in kind of like a diary way, but also sometimes as poem, like as prose, like crack prose. Poetry is really good for processing very specific situations for me. And it can be hard sometimes, like um sometimes you're writing and it I get really pissed off or I start crying over something, so I can get like really emotional when I am writing.
Mm.
um and of course now I go to all these like open mics and different places to sort of read them out loud and share them with other people.
Mm.
And that's really depending on what I'm reading, but it can be really nerve-wracking, especially if it's very, very like personal, close to home. I remember the last wasn't the last time for Poetry Unleashed, but when Poetry Unleashed, the last time they were in HUSET, the theme was breasts, and I read a poem that I wrote like long ago in Danish, and then I translated it to English,
Mm.
which was about sort of like prepubescent memory of bullying and uh, like all these difficult things, and I could really feel like the difference between reading something that was like very abstract or like beautiful, and then this, which was just very raw. This is what happened. uh this is how I felt about it, and that was messed up. So that was almost much more vulnerable than anything.
Mm.
So that was nerve wracking to read out loud.
Mm.
I also had a few beers before I did, so um you can always drink if you're nervous.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
um
Yeah, I had a few beers that night as well before I did mine. But it's just about how obsessed I am with my girlfriend. But so it wasn't as
yeah.
nerve wracking.
No, but it can be vulnerable too, of course. But I think what again, speaking of like what do we learn from poetry, you also learn something from reading it out loud. And the reception I got from people was just very empathetic, and it just felt like good to share something that is a memory from a long time ago. Like, should we care about what happened when we were 12? But it still stings when you speak it out loud. And but people were just like, oh, it was this girl. She came up to me, or woman came up to me afterwards and just like, I just wanted to hug you while you were up there,
Mm.
and just like really genuine,
Mm.
sweet.
Mm.
And so so yeah, that was a nice thing to learn. And also, just when you share these very vulnerable moments, you learn that they're not just yours. Like, if
Yeah.
everyone else has something close to home. And I think what was interesting is that the poem was about like bullying and like sexual harassment and stuff from my peers.
Mm.
We it was from like sixth grade. And a man also came up to me afterwards and was like, wow, it really reminded him of doing things he was not proud of
Yeah.
when he was young. He didn't say anything specifically, but
Yeah.
that's just interesting how it made, him reflect on his past as well. And it's like, shit, I may have hurt some people with my behavior.
Yeah.
Um, and also that, that he had moved on from it and was a different person. So that was also
Mhm.
kind of a healing thing to, having felt the emotions from that memory very clearly, and then go into, wow, I'm in a whole different space now. Like,
Yeah.
um, and that's kind of healing as well,
Yeah.
to me. So yeah, I think what like poetry can definitely be healing. You can also write yourself into madness a little bit. Like,
How so?
I think, uh from my personal experience, because I can't help thinking about like these famous poets and artists who all committed suicide, for example, or like drug overdose. And there's a very famous Danish author that I'm also inspired by, called Michael Strunge, who I think also committed suicide at 27
Mm.
or something, like pretty young. And hearing about all this also made me realize at one point you can't necessarily write yourself healthy. It's a good tool to have along the way, but if it was a cure all, then, in my head, at least back then, I thought then these people would be cured of their, if you could just write about it and it would make things better. And I
Yeah.
have also tried taking things that were like memories or specific traumas, and like, oh, I have to just write about it,
Mm.
and then I'll get it out and I'll fix it. And I just wrote myself into insomnia because I remember writing one poem where it was just like all I did was kind of trigger my nervous system, and
Mm.
and I didn't sleep the whole night. um so it can't always be on its own, and it's always with a delicate balance between what am I ready for and what am I not.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Yeah, but I can see your fascination with these aspects, the darker aspects of a creative mind as well. Um, just like looking at your background, some of the sick fucks you have hanging up there on the background. I mean, it's obvious, and I think it's very wise what you said. You can't write yourself healthy. That's not the point. You kind of have
mm,
to do something besides writing to
yeah.
live a healthy life. And I studied philosophy and script writing, so I've always sort of seen my I have like two wolves inside of me.
mm,
I have the philosopher and I have the writer. And the philosopher is has almost no prejudice, very tolerant, open, very pragmatic. You know, he knows that he doesn't know anything. While the writer side is very prejudiced, he has to have an opinion on things to make sense, to make interesting writing. He has to have make observations and have a standpoint and so on. So try
You
to
have
sort
to
of
make judgments.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of judgments. Yeah, and I try to sort of fluctuate between the two when I work, as it were. You know, I try to be pleasant company, but I can't be too Buddhist because I'll never have anything to write. You know, and I
mm.
also can't be too prejudiced because then I'll just be miserable and lonely. So I'm trying to sort of figure that out as well. You know.
I think it's interesting what you said about I can't be too Buddhist, but I think like the practice of writing, like, I haven't read a lot of Buddhist text, but I've gone to like a lot of meditation, which was inspired by Buddhism. And there's, this whole like New Age thing a little bit, but I think it stems from Buddhism, where it's like you're not your thoughts, and you observe the mind,
Mm,
like you are the consciousness that observes your
yeah.
thoughts. And I think, for people who have difficult sitting still and being in their own head, and observing themselves that way, writing is such a great tool for observing your thoughts,
Mm.
because it sort of materializes it a little bit more, and it becomes easier. Like I think, like you said, the writer has to be judgmental, has
Sure.
to be emotional, because that's the human condition in a way. That's like the way the mind works. It has all these weird quirks and issues, and that's what we're processing. But you can write something out and observe it, and I think we've all tried, those who are writers, where we have this difficulty and then we put it on paper, and suddenly it likes, but now it looks really silly on paper. Why did I think this was a problem? It's
Yeah.
like, or the solution just, shows up as soon
Mm.
as you start like writing it out and getting it out of your system.
Mm.
um so I think like the writer is yeah, connected to like this Buddhist idea in a
Yeah.
way. I think that's why we do it. um and why we share it with each other, to like, it's like these little materialized snippets of consciousness, where it's like, oh, look at how this mind works, and it inspires other people and helps them evolve. um so yeah.
Yeah. I can't be too enlightened if I have to write
Mm,
something interesting, and enlightenment is it's such a trigger word for some people. As soon as they hear other people talk about enlightenment, they act as if it
mm,
doesn't exist. But like the search for enlightenment is what philosophy is. It's what it says on the package. And whether you have
agreed.
success with it as an individual philosopher is kind of up to you. But the more enlightened I become, the smaller I become, because I
Mm.
have less opinions and less prejudices, and that's
Yeah,
just
the
not good
smaller
for
your
my writing.
ego
Yeah,
becomes in
exactly.
a way.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Yeah, and it just means that I'm less interesting because my
Mm.
writer side has to be childish and has to be emotional and not enlightened, because then it'll just be flat, you know. So I juggle the two things, and I just love observing. I know you love observing as well. I just love to look at people, and I spend so much time with other adults where I just think, wow, you never really grew up, huh? Like it's experience is not what happens to you. It's what you do with what happens to you.
Mm. It's also really interesting because like you said, the people who never grew up, it's like they grew into like this practical adult, where it's like, I have the right apartment, some of them, I
Yeah.
have the right apartment and job, and I became this good, and maybe they even become parents, and they become these like very good providers
Mm.
in a way, but they don't become like this nurturing person to the people around them.
Yeah. Or even for
And I think it's,
themselves.
yeah, yeah, because like you can't give to others what you have not given to yourself. I wrote this poem the other day. It was in Danish, but where I said something, it was sort of based on this sentence I got in my head, where it's like, it's very it's difficult to admit your vulnerabilities, or like to show your vulnerability, but when I do it, I get closer to other people.
Yeah.
Like, you create human connections. And in that is because if you can look at your own vulnerabilities and forgive them, you can look at other people's vulnerability and forgive them.
Mm.
And that's what other people crave, and what makes people come close to you. And that's like, oh, let's just, and I think the poem says in the end, it's like, you and me, we are weak little things, but there is strength in being together, which we might have never discovered if we could do everything on our own. um, and yeah, I think what you said about becoming flat the more enlightened you get. I'm not sure I agree, because it's not really. I think the less the ego, the smaller the ego becomes, the more space is created. Like I read Eckhart Tolle a lot, where he describes it as like the more enlightened you become, the more spacious you become. So you may not be interesting in writing in the way that appeals to other people's egos, but you'll appeal to another side of them.
Sure.
And the physical space that you're in, like with someone, people will be drawn more to you because you're just more comfortable being around.
Yeah.
um the less your ego
No,
becomes.
I agree. Also, I have not become more flat by lessening my ego. I've become more spacious, and you say, but also more fluid.
Mm,
I can fit in more containers than I could before. But I think my fictional writing could
mm,
become more. They are more mature, my characters, if I don't make them immature. You know what I mean? I've always been
sure.
fascinated by scumbags, reading about scumbags and writing scumbags. So when I
Mm,
write a character, there's always something wrong with them, and I
mm,
had to sort of also learn to trust in it and say, well, some people may think that these are your thoughts, but they're not necessarily, or maybe they are your thoughts, but you don't subscribe to them. You know.
yeah.
So I just had to keep on going, saying, "Well, you cultivate the immature side." My wonderfully smart girlfriend, she says, "Some people don't grow. Some people don't grow. They just grow old."
Mm,
I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly it. They want to fit into these little categories that were created before they were born, and they believe that. I think it's a very masculine thing to believe you have to fit these certain criteria. You have to have the wife and the kids and the career and the car. And then when you have those things, other people will like you.
yeah,
And
because it's about control of your material surroundings.
yeah, it's about,
um
yeah. And, but also, even more, it's about control of your inner self. It's about control
mm,
of your life and what you put out. I'm more like a leaf in the wind. I'm like, oh, tomorrow is different than it is today, and I'm looking forward to not knowing what's going to happen. I know I haven't peaked yet, Lotus. Some people say,
mm.
oh, I peaked when I was 17, and I always feel bad for them because it's like, shit, it's only going down from here, isn't it? But I haven't peaked yet. I know that the future is bright, and I'm looking forward to it.
Also, like, they probably felt like they peaked when they were 17, but if they met their 17-year-old self,
Mm,
I'm not sure you would think the same,
right.
because I remember when I was a teenager, like I think a good example is when you fall in love as a teenager. It can be so extreme. It's like all these hormones and shit going on in your head, and I would, in, the best poetic romantic fashion, like always fall in love with guys that I didn't even know, or
Yeah,
and like the classic where it's like the guy you hadn't even talked to, but in my head I was such a daydreamer, I was such a
yeah.
romantic, I was really good at building up these
Yeah.
fantasy
Me
worlds.
too. Me too. Like, I've
So
always
I
been a
would
victim
just.
of limerence.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And so not that long ago I started thinking about, I haven't really been in love as I was back then as a teenager. But what I mean is, like, I wasn't really in love back then. I was just on this high in a way.
Yeah.
So and that's not necessarily something to chase,
Yeah.
because when there's a high, there's also a low
Yeah.
afterwards. um so I think when people are like, oh, I peaked when I was a teenager, it's like, no, it was probably just the first time you really experienced maybe a great success, and that feels so good compared to what was before.
Yeah.
Like, the first or maybe first times you're on stage performing poetry, I remember was also such a high because I just hadn't done it before. And a big part of it was just like, oh, I finally found the bravery to
mm,
go and do that.
mm.
But I don't have a video of it, but I'm pretty sure that if you compare my performance from back then to today, I'm much better today. But it was just such a high back then. It's like, oh, people are clapping at my poetry that I've never read out loud before.
Yeah. And they have to
So
do that. Like no one tells you that they just do it to be nice.
yeah. Well, people also came up afterwards, and some people, where they'll come up to you afterwards and they'll be like, "Oh, I really like that part," or "I really like that you wrote about this and that." And
Mm,
I remember my first one. I also got like a few snaps doing the poem, so it's not like it wasn't good. Of course, I also have almost 20. No, it's more now. Yeah, 21 or like 22 years of writing behind me. So it's not like this was my baby poetry. I read that at Bad Poetry Night for for Poetry Unleashed when they had that. That was interesting.
mm.
Um, which was complete shit, but it's really funny to look back at it and also see how intense and dramatic the teenage brain really is,
Yeah.
and how things back then can seem so important, and today it's just like that did not matter at all.
Yeah.
And the people I thought were cool back then, I would never hang out with them today. Like
Mm,
they were not that cool.
mm.
They just pretended to be, and you know, so
When I turned 27, my
yeah.
dad my dad told me, I've been 27 all my life. He said, oh, it's like I'm still 27. And I hear older people say that. When I go to choir, I hear some of the women that are 80 years old say, yeah, well, I'm still 26 in my head.
Mm,
And when my dad said that on my birthday, I just remember the chills I got, because I was like, oh no, is this where you start losing the game?
mm,
Is this when, like, is it over? And obviously what he meant is that as we become older, we don't experience our age in the way other people see us age, right?
yeah.
If we don't consciously evolve, if we don't consciously add more years to our mental age, we will be stuck in that mental age. But I made a decision that day. I
Mm,
promised myself that I will keep growing mentally as I grow
mm,
physically. So I am now mentally older than my dad. I'm 34 years old mentally and physically, while he's
mm.
65 physically but 27 mentally.
Yeah. I think there's also something about just the biological side of it where the brain develops a
Sure.
whole lot the first years of your life, and then a little bit less but still a lot, and then from your 20 to your 30s I think the brain
Yeah,
like sort of
25. Yeah.
is like fully developed.
Yeah.
But as you say, I remember asking my mom this question when I was a lot younger. I think I was like in my start 20s or something, and I asked her like, "Isn't it really difficult to stay the same like when you become older and older?" Because I remember that feeling of just within a span of 5 years or something, I would change so much. And I think even back then, yeah, I would read and study all these things that I thought were really interesting. And she was just like, no, I think people find it more difficult to change as they
Yeah.
get older.
Yeah.
Uh, and part of it is also um, this sort of like autopilot life when you have to have like education, job, kids, house, all that stuff,
Yeah.
which is part of the current structure. You go into autopilot a little bit. It's hard to evolve spiritually and mentally when you have two screaming kids all the time who needs your attention.
Yeah.
You just people don't really evolve that much when they're stressed. When you're stressed or in stressful situations, you always go back to like the patterns you already have. Like you're
Yeah.
not going to invent new things. So I think the more we live in a sort of a society and economic system that puts more and more stress on the common person to just survive or to live up to this idea of survival that we also have, the less people are just gonna evolve. And I don't know what happened to your dad when he was 27, but I can imagine, is that when he like started having kids or
That's
like a
when he met my
family?
mom. That's when, and you
Yeah.
know, his frontal lobe had been fully fused for 2 years. That happens when you're 25. And then
Mm.
he met my mom, and I guess that's sort of when the rest of his life started, you know. But
Mm.
I would like to ask you, have you visualized your own life in 5 years or in 10 years? What does Lotus look like that then?
Only thing I want to do is um, have my stuff published.
Mm.
Uh, poetry. I'm also writing a novel right now.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I mean, when people ask like career-wise, what do you want to do, and like I also have a master's in philosophy and Danish.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So, exactly.
Another useless degree. We are
Yeah.
so many, I
What?
swear to God, we are so many philosophers in this group. It's insane.
But the thing is, what's funny about it is that it's not even useless, but the things you can use it for, it's just not my dream job. Like a lot
Yeah.
of people like, oh, you can become a gymnasia teacher, like high school teacher, I guess would be the English equivalent. And I'm just like, that's not my dream job. I would not mind maybe teaching at some point, although I do like I have more experience and I kind of like spending time with like younger kids than teenagers. Teenagers stress me out a little
For
bit.
sure.
I do like
100%
them,
agree.
but
Yeah.
but I think it's also because they trigger all this like old teenage drama that I
Sure.
haven't maybe
They're
processed. So it's
embarrassing.
they are, and you realize like, and they're allowed to be, they have to be, but you just realize, oh no, I was also embarrassing. Oh
Yeah.
shit. um but it's also good because then you can sort of look at your old self and forgive that a little bit. So I think if I was supposed to teach, I would kind of like maybe more like folkeskole, like yeah, like middle school
Mm.
level. But
Mm-hmm.
my idea of studying was always like, I always wanted to be a writer. Yeah, ever since I was 12. Ever since I started, I was like, this is what I want to do. And like you, I'm also a bit of a leaf in the wind. Like I'll have an idea of where I'm going, but I'll just go a whole other place. Like life takes you in different directions, and your mental and physical health takes you in different directions as well. So I think my only goal, I would say, is like I do want to get published. I want to try to live off of this at some point. But it's not a very straight or narrow line at all. It could happen in 6 months, or it could happen when in 10 years or something. Like it really depends on who wants to publish you, what's in at the time. You can write like a whole fuckload of books, but maybe only one of them gets really, really popular. And that's, I remember I was reading a book by this writer where he was like, his first book came out and it got super popular and it just kept selling year after year. and all his other books sold not well at all, and they're
Mm,
just taking up space in his garage, or
mm,
like he just
mm.
has these like piles of books in his garage. So it's like, it's not, he didn't stop writing at any point, but he didn't have anything else that became as successful at that first book.
Yeah.
And it's not because that was his best book from like a, I don't think like my perspective, but it was, I think it was kind of like a children's book or like a young adult book, and it just spoke into something like really specific. And
Yeah.
when something starts riding a wave, maybe it just,
Are you talking about Bret
becomes.
Easton Ellis?
No, I'm talking about a guy called Marcus Sedgwick.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Because Bret Easton Ellis did American Psycho and Luna Park and
mm,
shit like that. So I don't know. I was just trying to be funny. So
was that his first one?
I think American Psycho was his first one.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was the same, maybe not exactly the same, but Martin Scorsese did Taxi Driver, which was kind of like his first
Oh,
movie.
he did movies before that as well. But
Yeah, but
yeah.
it was like his first like really really popular movie.
Yeah.
Um, and it was kind of early on in his career. Uh, and I think like I don't remember if anything else has gotten as popular as Taxi Driver
Goodfellas for
than his did.
sure. The Departed.
Goodfellas, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, now we're in my territory right now. Whoa. Goodfellas, The Departed. I mean, yeah, he's made some bangers. But yeah, Taxi Driver is very successful also because the script was so good
Mm,
by what's his face, Martin Schrader, I think, or John Schrader or something like that. Also, Jodie
yeah.
Foster is like 16 in the film, and she's just amazing. And yeah. Anyway, what about we go to a text? Have you a text you want to read for us today?
Sure. Um, I actually prepared something not by myself, but by someone else, because
Cool.
now I have the. Is there anything about like copyright that I should think about?
No, you can read it up aloud. If you just mention who it is and stuff, then it should be all
Okay,
right.
sure. Because first I thought if I should like read something by Edgar Allan Poe, because
Yeah.
he is my OG inspiration and one of the
Not
first
surprised
ones.
at all.
Really?
Yeah. The Raven. You've
um,
got William Blake and Goya
yeah, I'm
on
gonna
the.
read the entirety of The Raven.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's like a fucking 150 verses. But no, but there's another poem that I really like, and it's kind of a children's poem, and it's by uh, Shel
Shel
Silverstein.
Silverstein. Yeah, cool. Who wrote The
Yeah,
Giving Tree, right?
yeah, he's a children's author, and I think the funny thing about this is how I came across it, because of course I didn't know about his like children's books because I'm Danish, so I wasn't read these books as a kid. I don't know if they were translated, but I just never knew about it. And then I think around 2015, I started listening to this rapper called Bones. Um, and he has a song called Where the Sidewalk Ends. And that is a poem, and I found out like because I was googling the lyrics of that song, I or like rap, I really liked it, and then I found out, oh, the name of the song is actually a poem by Shel Silverstein, and then I found that poem and I was fucking obsessed, uh, and bought his book. So without further ado, should I read?
Please.
Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein. There is a place where the sidewalk ends, and before the street begins, and there the grass grows soft and white, and there the sun burns crimson bright, and there the moonbird rests from his flight to cool in the peppermint wind. Let us leave this place where the smoke blows black and the dark street winds and bends. Past the pits where the asphalt flowers grow, we shall walk with a walk that is measured and slow, and watch where the chalk white arrows go to the place where the sidewalk ends. Yes, we'll walk with a walk that is measured and slow, and we'll go where the chalk white arrows go. For the children, they mark, and the children, they know the place where the sidewalk ends.
Wow, great. Thank you very much for that.
No problem. I think it plays into what we talked about a bit earlier, how because like it's a children's poem, but it's kind of more for adults in a way to remind them of like this childlike wonder of imagination in like the smallest things, as like the sidewalks end and like the asphalt flowers and these kind of things. So I think that's why I like it so much. Because that what I feel like we can also do as writers is take things that we take for given, like these everyday things, and look at them with like this new perspective, this new wonder kind of, and it gives like it gives like this yeah, more zest to life in a way.
Mm.
So it everything doesn't just pass you by.
Tell me, where can people find you online, and
I
what do you want to plug? Do you have anything for sale?
have nothing for sale, but I have an Instagram called Sort Jord, in one word, spelled SORTJORD. It's a Danish word. It means black earth, um, inspired by alchemy. If anybody knows about that.
I'm sure.
Um,
I'm sure we have some people who know about alchemy.
everybody knows about alchemy, do
Everybody
they not?
knows
And Carl Jung
about the
and
philosopher's
alchemy. Yes,
stone.
exactly.
Of course. Look who
Exactly.
you're talking to. Come on.
Yeah, I know where I'm at. um, so yeah, I think that's the place where they can find me right now. Go follow me. I post Danish and English poetry, and I'll definitely post where I'll go and read my poetry next. Usually also at Poetry Unleashed. Also be there if I'm not writing, or not reading out loud.
Yeah.
Um,
We have two events in December. One on the 12th at HUSET, our new
mm,
main spot. Will it be there?
definitely. I haven't put it in my calendar yet, but I do have time, I think.
Yeah.
No, I have put it in my calendar. Um, but yeah, at Husel, what's the other one?
It's at the 17th at Vintønden in Frederiksberg. That's where I will be attending myself.
Yeah.
So on the 12th and the 17th of December, two different places. People can always find the specific informations on our Instagram, and
Mm,
they can follow you as well.
come along.
Do you have any final words? Any wisdom?
Nah. I don't know if I have any wisdom, except for poets and writers out there. Get out of your room and go to these events, because you'll meet people who are like-minded, and even if you don't want to read, it's very social. People will want to talk to you even if you come alone. And yeah, stop being so antisocial and come be antisocial with the rest of us.
All right. Thank you
um,
so much for that. Now go
Thank you
help
too.
Dr. Frankenstein with his monster, and I will see
Bro,
you.
I am the monster. Come on.
I am the monster. Thank you all very much for listening, and like and subscribe. Check out our next events on the 12th and the 17th, and stay strong.
Totally.